Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be diving into Bivald of the Thorn. We're going to get him graded. We're going to go over his kit, his stats. We're going to show all of his abilities. We're going to show them in slow motion so you can see exactly how he functions, talk about his AI, talk about where he's going to be best in the game, go over the full grades. How do I think Plarium did in terms of designing him? Would I change anything about him? Is he good? Is he bad? Should you be spending your resources going after him? We're going to dive into all of these topics and do all of that. If you're watching this video right when it is released, I am fast asleep right now because this is the test server, and I'm going to be scheduling this to release as soon as we are allowed to share the test server content for Bivald with you guys. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Alrighty, so as always, for my champion guides down below, I will link to the infographic here where you can just get kind of an all-encompassing view of the champion. That'll be down in like the vid description, pin comment, all of that type of stuff. But right now, let's go ahead and put that away so we can dive into some analysis of the base stats and the kit. So first of all, for the base stats on the infographic, I gave it an A-. He's got pretty solid toughness. The attack is completely irrelevant. His damage scales with HP. So we're just looking at the HP, the defense, and all the other stuff. The speed of 98 is a little bit low. It's not low. Low would be like 94, 95. So it's perfectly fine. He's not like a turn meter booster or anything like that. So the 98 speed is okay. And he's actually got a pretty solid 60 between his resistance and accuracy. So all in all, stats are pretty solid. I gave him an A-. It's nothing amazing like Skull or Vargal where every stat is insane, but pretty solid. Nothing wrong with the stats at all. Then as far as the kit, we have an A1. It's going to attack one enemy. We can book it up to a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff for one turn. We're also going to heal the ally with the lowest HP by 15% of the damage inflicted by the A1 when it hits, and the provoke debuff can be placed even if this attack lands as a weak hit. So now that is going to be a common theme for Bivald on both of his abilities that place debuffs. The A2 is going to be the same way. It's going to have that same thing where it can be placed on a weak hit. So even if you're attacking like a magic affinity champion and you hit them weak, or in a situation like the Hydra when they've got the poison cloud up and you're going to hit them weak, you could still place the leech right here on the A2, which leads us into the A2, which is going to be a double hitter on an AoE. We can book it up to a 75% chance of placing a provoke on the first hit. The second hit, we can book up to a 100% chance of placing a leech, and then we're also on top of that going to get a strengthen buff on Bivald himself after this ability. So basically, we've got an AoE, double hitter, provoke, and leech, and it's the same concept as the A1. Like I said, you're going to place that even if it is a weak hit. So you're going to be able to place that AoE leech in the Hydra even if that poison cloud is up. Or even if you're in the arena and you're facing Magic Affinity champions, you hit them weak, you're still going to be able to CC them, which is super handy. Then we've got the A3. It's another AoE, single hitter this time. Damage increased by 5% for each debuff on each enemy. Also heals all allies by 20% of the damage inflicted, and places a shield buff on them for 2 turns equal to 20% of the damage inflicted. Now, obviously, this is going to be amazing if you get into a situation like the spider. Yeah, you've got all those spiderlings, and you can place insane shields, similar to like a Sir Nicholas or a miscreated monster, and I will definitely show you that in action. Then we also have a passive, decreases the damage taken by all allies of enemies under a provoke debuff by 15%, and an aura of ally HP in all battles by 28%, which is like a little bit of a weird percentage. Typically, we see something like 25 or 33, so something to take note of. So all in all, the kit unfortunately is on a 3-4 rotation. I like it when they're on a 3-3 because it's a very nice rotation to get the default and then the 3-3 for the 2 abilities to kind of reset and cycle through. But the A3 here is going to be a 4-turn cooldown even when booked. If he would be a lot better, obviously, if both these abilities were a 3-turn cooldown, but it is only the A2 that's going to take advantage of that. But now that we know how he functions, I would get him graded later on and talk about maybe possible nerfs or buffs or adjustments that I would do to him as a champion if I were designing him. We'll talk about that later. But right now, I want to pull up the Bivald that I've got built here on the test server account, and we'll talk about the gearing, the masteries, the booking, and the whole build process. Alrighty, so when we dive into building Bivald, we're going to want certain stats, obviously, like HP, speed, and accuracy. We do have the 2 different things, like the A1 and the A2, that are going to be placing debuffs, so nothing wrong with going with accuracy for the banner. And then you're going to want a lot of toughness. You don't need to worry about attack or anything, obviously, on him. Now, if you are building him as a damage dealer, you would probably want to maybe get crit damage here on the amulet. I kind of build him as a hybrid to test him in the most areas I could, so I kind of did a little bit of damage but a lot of toughness, and went with kind of a support half damage hybrid build. But you want to synergize this with your gloves, and if you do get like crit rate or crit damage gloves, you would then want to get a crit damage amulet. For the ring, we're just looking for mostly as much HP as we can get. A ring like this is very solid because you get the triple roll of the HP, and it is a reaction ring, so if you ever take him into tag team arena or anything, that would obviously be very good for him. Then for the artifacts on the bottom, nothing wrong with going HP percent boots, especially if you've got decent glyphs and substats. You can see I was able to get his speed to a pretty decent level down there. I can pull this up to see the total. We got the speed all the way up to 257 with still going with HP percent boots. So if you can pull something like that off, you can get like 220, 230 speed by using HP percent boots. Nothing wrong with doing that. And then we're obviously going to want an HP chest on him almost all the time. And same with gloves, unless you are building him as a damage dealer. You may want to go with like crit rate or crit damage, depending on how much HP you can get to kind of stack with that effect. And you know the drill for the top ones, they are pretty simple. We're just going to be looking for mainly HP, speed, and accuracy, and whatever defense we can get on the helm and the shield would obviously be welcomed as well. When we dive into the books, I believe it is 11 books. We've got the 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11. So yeah, 11 books. Mostly par for the course. Average is somewhere around like 8 to 14 typically. And if you're going to be booking him, you do get decent value out of it. The provoke, it felt, when I was playing with him, it felt pretty inconsistent. So if you're going to be using him a lot, you do want to get the 20. Going from 30 to 50 is a big deal. It's only a single hitter. So he is very good somewhere like the Magma Dragon in the Doom Tower. If you're using him as your provoker in that boss fight, you may want to get the books here on the A1, but obviously the priority for the books are always on the A2 and the A3. And then for the masteries, like I said, a lot of different ways you could go about doing this. Slide me over here out of the way. If you're just building him as a utility, like for doing the provokes and the leeches and things like that, you could probably go support and defense. But since his shield is based on doing some damage, I think you may typically want to go with a utility route. And nothing wrong with taking like a War Master or something instead of Eagle Eye. If you have good enough gear to really hit the accuracy thresholds you need to, you could definitely swap that over, take the Eagle Eye off, and then put it over here to War Master to get a little bit more consistent damage out of him in that hybrid kind of support damage role. Now let's step on into the booth and I'll show you some of the footage that I was able to cover when I was kind of testing him and recording some stuff. All right, so right here, we're going to see an example of the weak hit placing the leech. Okay, so right there is the frame where it happens. So you're seeing that we've got the weak hit, we got the poison cloud, everything up like that. But despite all of that, we are able to, right there, you see the leech get placed. Despite all of the weak hit shenanigans going on, we are still able to place it on there. And then right here, this is going to be an example of a nightmare campaign farming run. So as this hybrid build, I did not even build him to farm the campaign, and he's able to do it. So he leads in with the A2 with the multi-hitter AoE right there. That's what his AI prioritizes at the start of the run. And then he does his other one that's going to do more damage based on debuffs being on the enemies. And he is able to easily, without me even changing things around, without me adjusting things to make him my campaign farmer, he was able to very easily, never any risk of dying, slam through the 12-6 nightmare. So if you're on an account where you don't have a nightmare campaign farmer yet, he could definitely be your introductory option to that. He's not going to be a god tier Herndog, Ethos, Hegemon, or anything like that, where he's like a sub 20-second nightmare campaign farmer, but he can definitely slot into that role for you and do it for sure, because as you see, I didn't even build him for that and he was able to do it just fine. There we go, and it took about a minute for him to take down Nightmare Campaign right there on the build that I had going on. Then if we keep it rolling, this next example is going to be an example of, see, right now we are doing his A2, which is what his AI is going to prioritize. And it's going to be the one that places the Provoke and the Leech. So we can show you right here, boom, he's hitting. Right there is what it kind of looks like frame by frame. And you see the Provoke get placed on the first hit. And then the next hit is what is going to place the Leech. And right there, there comes the second hit. And pop, there is the Leech. You want to see what it looks like in natural motion. Boom, Provoke, and Leech right there. And that was at like 2 seconds into the fight. that is what his AI prioritized doing right out the gate. And then this was the end of the run. I wanted to show you how he compared to someone like Herndig, who is a damage dealer. He did 535,000 compared to Herndig, who did 900k. But remember, I built Bivald as a hybrid build, so I didn't build him like min-max, savage gear, craziness to go bananas dealing damage. If I did, he could probably have done up there close to Herndig during this Doom Tower run and been just fine, probably getting up there close to 800, 900k. And then this next one is going to be an example of what Briar Nexus looks like. So that is going to be the A3, and it's going to be the one that does more damage based on debuffs that are on the enemy, and then also placing a shield on all of our allies, which you see right there. We get the AoE damage, and then the shielding go up on all of our allies like that. But also on that A3 Briar Nexus, remember, we're going to heal all allies based on 20% of damage inflicted. And you see this 1100 466. If we take 1100 466 and we go times 0.2, and boom, we are getting 2293 for the heals. And would you look at that? 2293, 2293, 2293, getting all of the heals on our allies based on the 20% damage inflicted by that A3 Briar Nexus. But he will typically, in most situations, prioritize the A2, then come around the next turn and do the A3, which is this AoE shield, healing, and damage inflicted as an AoE. So then we keep it moving to the next ability. This is going to be an example of what his A1 is going to look like. So you see the provoke getting placed right there. And the A1 is also going to heal. Remember what it said there on the A1. That A1 was attack one enemy with a 30% chance of placing a provoke, which we actually got to proc on this attack during the Magma Dragon. And then it's also going to heal the ally with the lowest HP by 15% of the damage inflicted. And I want to kind of show you an example of that. And in this clip, it is going to be happening on the Lydia. So right here, he runs up, he's going to hit, and boom, he does the provoke, and you can see the 19052. Let me get it separated a little bit. Okay, so right there, we got the 19052 and the provoke, and then we're also going to be healing our Lydia because you can see that the HP is the lowest on our Lydia right here, getting the heal of 3000 with the 1952 and the provoke. And the way that I can articulate this to you is we've got the 19,052 damage that we are doing, and then we go times 0.15 for the heal that we are going to be doing, 2857. But you're maybe asking, why is the heal 3,000 instead of 2857? Lydia gets a small bump via a mastery that gives 5% of bonus healing. So when you add the 5% onto that, let's go times 0.05 equals, and then we got to go plus the 2857, and it was like 0.87 or something. We end up with that right there, 3,000 point something. I wasn't decimal perfect, but that is why the heal is 3,000. The way it typically works in Raid is they just drop off the extra decimals. They don't round them up or anything. So that is why we are getting the heal of 3,000 on Lydia after doing the A1 on the attack here on the Magma Dragon. So sorry, I know I get to talking fast and saying numbers, but just to walk you through what happened here, the A1 that Bivald is going to be doing is going to run up, provoke, and then we'll have a chance to provoke. It's not 100%. When you book it, it's a 50%. In this case, it procced. And then based on the damage that he deals, he is going to heal the ally with the lowest HP by 15% of the damage dealt, which in this case was Lydia, and that will coincide with the bonus healing mastery in the defense tree that my Lydia had. I hope I did okay explaining that. So now let's move on to something a little bit more fun and easy to understand. Let me get this cleared off. So, okay, this is going to be in the spiders. So obviously you're going to want to speed tune him to go after your defense break champion, whoever's going to be debuffing the enemies, like right here, my Lydia is. So right now we've got a lot of debuffs, which is going to increase the damage of the A3. And then you can see the ability right here, the AoE, damage increased by all the debuffs, and also placing shield on all allies based on damage inflicted. You will see that right here, and pop, look at that, all of the shields going down on our allies, and then also all of the heals going down because it also heals all allies based on damage inflicted. And this coincides pretty well with the lasting gifts mastery because you can see a lot of these shields, like on the Lydia and the Cold Heart and stuff, we're getting a 3-turn shield instead of the base 2 that the kit would typically provide. And now for the fun part, let's pull up top the grades that I have got for him and talk about all of the different areas of the game. So first of all, grading out as a 7.1, so not terrible, but not going to be like meta changing or super crazy. At least in my first initial grades, which by the way, this is subject to change. You know all the normal qualifiers because this is a test server, and I'm trying to kind of get content out as soon as possible. So it is possible that this is going to change. You know all the normal qualifiers. Book value of 6. 11's not crazy, but he's also not going to be like super meta. The Demon Lord, not really a whole lot of value coming through there. He could technically place like shields and stuff, so he's not awful. Arena, I mean, he could be decent in defense teams, but typically on a defense team, you need some sort of a mechanic to get you there, like a Torment freezing stuff when they go first, or a Duchess with the revive and you know, making your team take a lot less damage. He doesn't really have a mechanic that helps you get there. He's great in Faction Wars. He's fine in Doom Tower, really good versus the Magma Dragon. Decent in the Hydra and some of these different areas of the game. Great for the Spider if you're doing any sort of a slow burn team where you need the shields. He can be awesome there. And then he's mostly kind of decent in some of these different areas of the game, but nothing really to write home about. So he kind of ends up here initially as a 7.1. But if you disagree with any of that, I really enjoy reading down below, and I am happy to make adjustments if I need to be changing some of these grades to make them more accurate as I kind of learn more and read more input from other people as well. So then in conclusion, how do I feel about his design and would I change anything? I understand. I hate to be too harsh because I understand that not every champion can be Duchess. I do think he could use a little bit of buffing though, just to kind of bring him up in that like 8.0 spot, you know, at least give him a little bit of love. The A1 felt a little bit too inconsistent when I was, he doesn't have an insane speed or any sort of like grant extra turn mechanic to help him cycle through. So I think making this like a double hitter, maybe like just making this attack one enemy twice would make this kind of be a lot more consistent and flow a little bit better. I would probably change the A1 a little bit like that. The A2 I'm mostly okay with. AoE provoke and leech, I mean, they have added a lot of provoke kind of recently in the last year or so, so maybe give this some sort of a little boost to utility, or maybe make it a 3-turn leech. I mean, some sort of a little bit of love would not be bad here. And then, you know, this is a tough one to get right because I would maybe, he doesn't seem to hit insanely hard. I would maybe help him hit just a little bit harder. He's probably not going to be like a Magnar or anything ever, obviously, but I think just like a slight tune to the A1, and maybe like just a tiny extra on some of this with maybe hitting just a little bit harder would bring him into line up towards that 8.0 roll that people would be a little bit more inclined to really throw res at going after him. And then the passive is a little bit boring. Typically, if you've got something provoked, it's already not doing a lot of damage. So I would maybe rethink the passive here. And I don't know, when I think of thorns, I think of like reflect damage type thing. Maybe that's because I grew up playing Diablo 2 with like the thorns paladin. But like maybe you know, enemies under a provoke deal half the damage to themselves or something. You know, if that's too strong, make it like 25%. Maybe some sort of thorn reflect damage effect to the passive would have made it a little bit more fun. And the aura is mostly fine. So I think with a couple slight changes, he could have a little bit more hype around him. But all in all, do I recommend that you go for this guy? I do. I don't like to recommend that you guys skip events because you never know when a champion is going to end up being really good for future content. You never know if a champion is going to get rebalanced, get buffed, and you also never know if I'm wrong. Like I could tell you not to go for something and then end up kind of having a bad opinion and being wrong. I've been wrong on champions before, so I typically say you'll go after it if it's realistic for you to finish the events. I don't, as of right now, I don't anticipate him being some incredible super god tier champion, and I would kind of just go about it with a realistic approach to get the fragments and participate if you can. And if you only end up at 75, 80, they have already shown us they will do tournaments, they will do future sales to go ahead and finish up the ones that you got close on. So I would just kind of do your best to go forward with the events. But if you agree or disagree with anything that I had to say, go ahead and drop it down below. And remember, I have the infographic down there as well if you would like to pull that up and kind of see the all-encompassing view of the basics of the champion. So that'll do it for me on this one. Good luck in the fragment events. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out. Lots more informative content coming out for Raid and other things as well. So have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and I am fast asleep right now, but hopefully waking up and getting the day started, and see how you all feel down below to see if I was wrong or right based on the comments. So anyway, thanks for watching. Peace.